You guys, I just recorded this whole video without hitting the record button. But we're going to see how God promised the rainbow. Let's get into it. Hi, welcome back. My name is Crystal with my channel Unmuted Grace. So today we're going to read into chapter 9. This is going to be a two-part because the first half is with how God establishes his covenant and the rainbow, and it's beautiful. And the second half, not so much. It kind of gets a little more sketchy. And I really wanted to keep the tone of the video kind of separated from that. So this is going to be part 1, and then I'll have part 2 after this. So grab your Bible. Today I'm reading out of my Christian Standard Bible. My New International Bible that I normally read from has been misplaced. I know it's around here somewhere, but this is the one that I read and take notes in. The words are a lot different, but when I'm doing my commentary and word studies, I always do it out of a King James to make sure I'm not missing anything. So yeah, let's get into chapter 9. Here we go. We're going to see where God blesses Noah and his descendants. God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth. The fear and terror of your..." God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. The fear and terror of you will be in every living creature on earth, every bird of the sky, every creature that crawls on the ground, all fish of the sea. They are placed under your authority. Every creature that lives and moves will be food for you. As I gave you green plants, I have given you everything." So now we're seeing like a parallel to Genesis 1:28, where God told Adam and Eve to be fruitful and multiply. This is the food you can eat. Now we're seeing him tell Noah, and Noah will tell Noah's sons, "Be fruitful and multiply, and this is what you can eat." So now we can see that they can eat every plant, but now they can eat the animals. So when it says that the animals will have fear and terror, that's because now the relationship has changed a little bit. Now we're seeing how the animals are now food. So the relationship's not going to be the same. Where I'm assuming on the ark, maybe they lived in harmony and peace and, kumbaya, and everything was great. But what do you think if you became food for somebody? Do you think you'd live in peace and harmony with that person? I don't really think so. But then I wonder, I'm like, what about the animals, dogs, bears, the animals that people are afraid of? Snake, I mean, I can't say people, but let me speak for myself. I get kind of scared of big dogs. Um, and it's because humans have domesticated them. They've taken them as pets, enclosed them in zoos, stuff of that nature. And then some coexist with humans, like in their houses. You got dogs, you got cats. I have a cat, a dog, and then my girls have guinea pigs. So that's what that is all about. And yeah, so let's get back in and start in verse 4. "However, you must not eat meat with its lifeblood in it, and I will require a penalty for your lifeblood." What does this mean? Does this mean you can't eat raw meat with blood in it? At this time, it absolutely did. Yes. The blood had to be drained. You could not just eat a raw animal. You couldn't with the blood in it. This was to prevent cruelty. Blood has a lot of meaning in it. In fact, it is mentioned 424 times in the Bible, and blood it represents life, and that's very serious. It lessens animal cruelty. Some people think killing animals altogether is cruel, but this is what had to be done. So killing the animal first, draining its lifeblood, and then you're good to eat it. Verse 5. "And I will require a penalty for your lifeblood. I will require it from any animal and from any human. If someone murders a fellow human, I will require that person's lifeblood. Whoever sheds human blood by humans his blood will be shed, for God made humans in his image. But you, be fruitful and multiply, spread over the earth and multiply it." So the Ten Commandments hasn't been written out yet, but we see right here where God's giving commands. Okay, so we see he's telling them what they can eat, uh, and now he's telling them, hey, you can't kill people. This is something that cannot be done. He takes life very seriously. Um, but unfortunately, as we go on throughout the Bible, we're going to see a lot more killing and how much more this world gets corrupt by the day. All right, so let's get back into verse 8. Then God said to Noah and his sons with him, understand that I am establishing my covenant with you and your descendants after you, and with every living creature. Did you catch that? With every living creature, not just humans, every living creature, because life is valuable. Every living creature that is with you, birds, livestock, and all wildlife of the earth that are with you, all the animals of the earth that came out of the ark. I establish my covenant with you, and never again will every creature be wiped out by the flood water. There will never again be a flood to destroy the earth. So yeah, we see how God made this covenant with not only humans but all of creation, and we can see that God cares for every creation, not just humanity. All right, so verse 12. And God said, this is the sign of the covenant I am making between you and every living creature with you, a covenant for all future generations. I have placed my bow in the clouds, and it will be a sign of a covenant between me and the earth. So we see that he made a covenant with not only creation, not only humans, but now with the earth. Whenever I form clouds over the earth and the bow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me, you, and all the living creatures. Water will never again become a flood to destroy every creature. The bow will be in the clouds, and I will look at it and remember the permanent covenant between God and all living creatures on earth. So there it is. There's the rainbow. A lot of people, if you've been in church at all, in kids' church mostly, you know about the rainbow. Um, and most of us are just familiar with this part. We're not familiar with anything that comes afterwards. It starts to get a little dark afterwards. But do you wonder, like, if you sat here and thought about this? This was, according to what I've read, it's one of the first rains. It's the first time it's rained from above. So I wonder if God knew they would be scared every time it rained. I mean, think about it. I wonder if every time it rained, if God didn't make this covenant, if they would be afraid that every time it rained, it is going to flood and we're going to have to go through this again. Maybe they didn't think that. But it's something to just kind of, just question and make sure your brain's working when you're reading. Just get curious. As the lady I watch, Kayla, His Word My Walk, she always says get curious, and I love that because I love getting curious in the Bible is really what sparked my love. And I just love, if you're reading a book, you get curious, so why not get curious about the Bible? Did anyone else notice, though, that God referred to himself in the third person? I really couldn't find much on the commentary, just some vague answers. But I've read where Jesus referred to himself as the third person multiple times. So if you have any insight on that, just leave a comment. Let me know. I'd love to know why he just referred to himself in the third person. So I'm going to stop here because right after this, it's not exactly pretty, and I want to keep the tone. I want to keep it to where maybe meditate on this, like camp out on it, kind of take it in a little bit. This was such a big moment, and I don't want to take away from that. And I'm not saying the Bible takes away from that. I'm just saying take a minute and kind of just think about it. So we're going to see a turning point coming in part 2. So join me in the next video where we will get into what is going on, what happens. We will see how Noah's sons have a big part in all of this. So until next time, stay rooted in faith, walking in grace. I say it backwards every time, but that's okay. Bye.